everyone. I hope that wherever you are, it is as beautiful as it is here in Oklahoma City this morning. It's a little bit breezy, and I'm rather concerned that the winds are going to pick up later today, which would be a problem because Hudson and I were going to try to take a hike. But nevertheless, right now it's absolutely beautiful. So I wanted to show you, oh look here, man down, topiary down. I wanted to show you my procedure for bringing in my myrtle topiary before the freeze. Now these are compacta myrtle topiary, and they are not frost hardy. So they have to come in before it freezes. And really they like to come in before the temperatures get down, reliably in the 50s at night. And the important thing for me before I treat them to come inside is that I always look at the forecast to see what the temperatures are, and it looks like the end of next week, finally they're going to get below 50 at night. It's still been a really, really warm fall. But I'm doing this in batches because it does take some time, and I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. So I'm just doing the myrtle topiary right now, though this procedure also applies to things like some of my succulents that I'll bring in and some of my other not frost hardy, not cold hardy potted plants. Now, obviously, I'm doing this on tabletop topiary, and it would be rather difficult to do this with some of my really, really large specimens, my Eugenia and some of my large pots of, well, obviously, like the huge pots of the geraniums and some of my other larger potted plants. But here is my methodology for bringing in the smaller tabletop plants. Now what you'll need is just a bucket, and you can see here I've got a tub, and it is filled with soapy water, and it's just a mild organic soap. I put in maybe a tablespoon or two of this Quinn's Castile soap, and I will put a link below. It's a gentle, unscented soap. And I typically try to use a soap that is a liquid soap that is not, doesn't have any degreasers or detergents in it that might be a little bit too strong. Now this is going to be kind of awkward for me, you guys, because I'm going to be doing this as I am filming. But I filled this tub up practically all the way to the top. And then I am very slowly and gently submerging the pots of topiary into the tub. Now, you may ask, well, will all of the gravel that I have on the surface of my topiary, which by the way is gravel that I get at Lowe's, it's Earth Naturals. It's also the same gravel that is mulching my beds, but no, it does not. And I'll show you my technique in a moment. And you can see here that these have been soaking for a little while. So what I do typically is I submerge the pot, and I might leave it in there for, 5 to 10 minutes, and it does a number of different things. It not only will kind of wash off and wash out any bugs that may be on the plant, and if it's possible, these are a little bit too tall, but if it is possible, and you can see as the water penetrates the root ball, it kind of bubbles. This is also a good watering technique, and it ensures that the entirety of the root ball really gets hydrated. But if you do that slowly enough, then the gravel will not float to the surface. Now some of these smaller ones here that I've already done, I completely immerse them, top and all. And that way, if there's any bugs on the foliage, they will also be targeted by the soapy water. Now, these other ones that are too tall to submerge completely, I will spray them with a soap mixture after they come out. So basically what this technique is addressing is those bugs or critters, even kind of diseased foliage that's in the root ball and on the surface of the pots. Now when I take these out, I just set them aside to drain. And then I know my camera work is not good, you guys, but I also have one of these handy dandy kitchen strainers. So what I do then is just use the strainer. I'll be so glad when Stuart gets back. To skim the surface of the water, and then any bugs, any debris, maybe any diseased foliage or dead foliage will come to the surface. And I will discard it. This guy, I think, has been bathing in the pool long enough. So I will take it out, skim the surface again. Typically I should probably do this in between each batch. Sometimes I will leave them in as long as 15-20 minutes. The other advantage to doing this is if the root ball at some point has gotten overly dry, then the soapy water really helps rehydrate the soil. Now that's typically not too much of a problem with these topiary because I never let them dry out. I have said it many, many times on these myrtles, if they ever dry out completely, they're toast. They seldom will rejuvenate and resurrect and rehydrate to their former self. So I just keep doing these in batches. And then once I'm finished with this batch, see how all of the seed heads and all sorts of things float to the surface. This one I will leave in there also for a little while. As long as there are bubbles coming up, that means that there is more oxygen inside that root ball that will be replaced with water. I can also kind of do this, give them a little splash in the pool. And I'll do this to all of these topiary. And then after I finish this batch, I probably won't do another batch until next week because this does take a little bit of time. For larger pots, I might need a larger bucket. But typically most of these, even the larger ones here, they can get a good soak. And then they'll go into the house, hopefully bug-free. Now while I'm doing this, I'm also going to check to see if they've got any mealybugs, if they've got spider mite, aphids, anything along those lines. And if they do, then I might treat them a little bit more aggressively with maybe a secondary spritz of a neem oil spray. And I'll keep an eye on them and then move them closer to the house and closer to more shade so that they start acclimating to lower light conditions. So this is my very inelegant, very kind of rough demonstration of what I do with my topiary, my tabletop topiary before I bring them in. And I do have some smaller starts that Monica made for me. These are my tabletop ones. I have larger ones that are up closer to the house near the bistro area. I will also treat those similarly, but again, they are larger. So just get a large tub, a large bucket, get your topiaries, your house plants. This, by the way, is also how you would treat any house plants that have been vacationing outside during the summer. If you have, some smaller blooming plants and you're wanting to bring those in, this is how you would do it. Now these, you guys, these will come into my house because I like to use them over the holidays. I never let them dry out. I give them as strong a sun as possible and as much light as possible once they get indoors. The other larger ones will probably go to the greenhouse. So get yourself some good mild soap and get your handy dandy kitchen strainer from the kitchen. And there you go. That is how I treat my tabletop topiaries to a nice relaxing bath before they come in for the cold season. Thanks for putting up with my bad camera work, you guys. Stuart will be back on Monday.